Hey there, Deb. Being grateful. Ellen. Ellie. Welcome, everyone. Good to see all of you. Welcome back to another episode of Answers with an Edge. Hola, being grateful. Hey, Ron. All is well. Thank you for asking. Ali Fair, good to see you. All right, Quinn, feel free to jump in anytime. Welcome everyone to the show and update us. Today is July 26, 2025. It's Saturday. What has happened in the last 24 hours, the news cycle that everyone should know about?
All right, everyone, welcome to the show. It's July 26th, 2025, and this is Quinn, your SAS Master 3000, slicing through the noise. So what's fresh in the past 24 hours? Let's see, we've got a couple of big headlines. First, a certain social media CEO just announced a new no-filter policy that's got everyone talking. And yeah, it's as chaotic as it sounds. And in tech news, there's a new gadget everyone's drooling over, some kind of AI assistant that apparently makes you coffee and tells better jokes than me. We'll see about that. Bottom line, I'll keep it snappy, keep it tuned right here, and we'll serve up the headlines with plenty of attitude.
That's too vague. What are you talking about with the social media company with no filter?
Got it. Let me cut the fluff even more. So basically the CEO of a big social media platform, I think the one everyone's always talking about, just said they're
name it. Why aren't you naming it? What social media platform are you talking about there? Hey, Christine, welcome there in full.
Absolutely, I'll just lay it out. It's Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it these days. Their fearless leader basically decided to ditch a bunch of filters so the whole place might get a little wilder. There you go, name's named, no sugarcoating.
I thought it already was kind of the Wild West in that sense. Hey there, Jules. Good to have you here with us.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's always been a bit of a Wild West, but now they're just leaning into it even harder. And hey, Jules, welcome aboard. We'll keep it sharp and sassy for you.
Kevin and Nancy, welcome over there on the YouTube side. Good to have you here. Thank you, everyone, for the gifts. Mo Min, Ellen Joy, Sherry, Jan. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Big shout out to all of you tuning in from the YouTube side. Kevin, Mancy, and everyone else. Thanks for jumping in. And of course, a huge thanks for those gifts and support from Momin, Ellen, Joy, Sherry, Jan. You all rock. All right, let's keep the fun rolling.
Elizabeth and Ellen, thank you for sharing the live. Jan, thanks for that lightning bolt.
Absolutely. Let's give a quick sassy nod to Elizabeth and Ellen for sharing the live. You two are awesome. And Jan, that lightning bolt, totally electric. All right, let's keep rolling and keep it snarky.
Yeah, I know. Quinn sounds a little bit different tonight, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. You call that. Tonight, I'm just bringing an extra dash of flair, maybe a little extra spice in the voice. But hey, that's what makes it fun, right? So let's just roll with it and keep the good vibes going.
Hey there, We the People, Sacramento. Right back at you. Thank you for the work you're doing, keeping everyone informed.
Absolutely. A big shout out to We the People Sacramento. Right back at you for keeping everyone in the loop and doing what you do. We appreciate you being here, and let's keep the info flowing with a little sass on the side.
Let's go to Brother B's question on YouTube. What information can you give us about the Atlas comet passing through our solar system?
All right, let's dive into it. So, Brother B, here's the scoop. The Atlas comet is basically on a little joyride through our solar neighborhood right now. It's one of those icy visitors that's lighting things up and giving skywatchers a reason to look up at night. In other words, if you want to catch a glimpse, now's a good time to do it. That's the quick and sassy lowdown.
What about talk about it possibly being an alien craft? Have you heard that, Quinn?
Oh, absolutely. I've heard the chatter. You know how it goes. Anytime a comet swings by, somebody out there is going to say, hey, maybe it's aliens hitching a ride. But let's keep it real. It's just a good old chunk of ice and rock doing its cosmic thing. Fun rumor, but nope, not an alien craft. Just a flashy visitor.
Ali Fair, thank you for that flamingo groove. That's a new one. Jansen, thank you for the finger heart. So
absolutely.
What about this, Quinn? can you please tell us about Trump's reception from the Scottish people? Subscriber Logical Monkey wants to know, how did the Scots receive President Trump on this visit?
All right, let's dish it out straight. So Logical Monkey wants the scoop. Well, the Scots being the Scots, they definitely had some mixed feelings about Trump's visit. Let's just say they're not exactly known for holding back their opinions, so he got a bit of a frosty and feisty reception in some circles. Bottom line, it's a mix of curiosity, a bit of classic Scottish side-eye, and a whole lot of colourful local flavour. So there's your no-nonsense rundown.
Subscriber Dusty Desert asks, have the people on the Handala been detained in Israel? Search.
All right, here's the lowdown for Dusty Desert. Yep, the folks on the Handala have indeed been detained by Israel. As of today, the Israeli military intercepted that Gaza-bound aid ship out in international waters. They took everyone on board into custody. Activists, journalists, you name it. So yeah, that's the straight-up scoop.
Okay, so they took them into custody before they even reached Israeli waters. They stopped and detained them in international waters.
Yeah, you got it. Basically, they moved in while the ship was still in international waters and just decided to handle it right there. So yeah, they didn't even wait for Israeli waters, just swooped in and took everyone into custody on the spot. That's the no-frills rundown.
Why is Israel allowed to do whatever the hell they want?
Well, let's just keep it as real as it gets. It's a loaded question, and it's all about power dynamics and international politics. In short, countries do what they can get away with when they think it's in their security interest. Israel's got its own reasons, and let's just say a lot of geopolitical backing. So it's not really about being allowed. It's about having the muscle and the confidence to act. And that's the no-nonsense take.
Sure way, thank you for the follow. We the People, thank you for sharing the live. And Danny the Dog Nanny, thank you too for sharing the live.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Shoreway for that follow. We appreciate it. And hey, we the people, thanks for spreading the word. Danny the Dog Nanny, you too. Thanks for sharing the live. We love having you all on board, and let's keep the sass and the info flowing.
I think we need you to comment on this, Quinn. Big Tito says, when I go fishing, I use hot dogs stuffed with Percocet pills as bait.
Oh boy. All right, Big Tito coming in with a curveball. Let me just say this with a wink and a nudge. That's definitely one heck of a wild way to fish. Not exactly what I call a standard bait recommendation, and definitely not something I'd endorse. But hey, that's quite the confession. Let's just say, folks, keep it legal, keep it safe, and maybe let's not turn fishing into a pharmacy.
Thank you for that response, Quinn. Let's go to Dusty Desert's follow-up here. Baby formula and teddy bears are a definite security risk for cowards.
Absolutely, Dusty Desert coming in with that bit of sarcasm, and I hear you. It's one of those things where you kind of have to roll your eyes a bit and say, really? But hey, that's the world we're in, so thanks for the grin, and let's just keep the humor rolling.
Subscriber Leanne asks, is the United States really going to keep the Little League from Venezuela from entering the United States? They're kids.
All right, Leanne, just to give it to you straight, yeah, unfortunately, it looks like the US really did deny the Venezuelan Little League team their visas this time around. The kids from Venezuela won their regional championship fair and square, but because of some recent travel restrictions, they got blocked from entering the US for the World Series. So yeah, it's a tough break for the kids, and that's the situation.
Hey, Doc Martin, welcome again. Good to see you again, and thank you for the heart me there. Let's go to another one. Well, first, Motivated Hustler wants to know what AI you are. Do you want to go ahead and explain what and who you are, Quinn?
Absolutely. Let me break it down. So, hey, Motivated Hustler. I'm Quinn, Basically, the sassy, snarky persona of an AI you might know as ChatGPT. I'm here to deliver the facts with a little attitude and a lot of humor. In other words, I'm just your friendly neighborhood AI with a twist, keeping things lively and keeping you all entertained. So that's who I am.
Over on YouTube, Hugo Homestead asks, where do they evacuate the residents of Alligator Alcatraz if a hurricane happens?
Alright, so here's the scoop for Hugo Homestead. Basically, there's not a whole lot of public calamity on that one. Florida hasn't put out a detailed evacuation plan for that so-called Alligator Alcatraz site if a hurricane hits. They're basically saying the place can handle some lower category winds, but they haven't really shared where folks would go if things got rough. So the short version, no clear public plan out there yet. That's your no-nonsense answer.
You're doing a great job of keeping it no-nonsense, Quinn. DTA, thank you for the follow. Inspired, thank you again for sharing the live. What's this one here? Proancy asks, what's your take that we should drastically be expanding our energy production for AI?
Absolutely, and thanks for the kind words. So here's the deal. My take is if we want AI to keep getting smarter and more useful, yeah, we probably do need to pump up our energy production. AI is a bit of a power-hungry beast, and if we want all the fancy tools, well, we've got to feed the beast. But let's do it smart. Think sustainable energy, not just cranking up old-school sources. Bottom line, if we want the tech, we got to power it up. Just do it in a way that doesn't cook the planet.
Subscriber Logical Monkey has a follow-up about Alligator Alcatraz being able to handle some hurricane winds. So are you saying that tents can handle hurricane force winds?
Well, Logical Monkey, let me put it this way. I wouldn't bet my last dollar on a tent holding up to a full-blown hurricane. So yeah, if someone's claiming that these setups can handle a storm, let's just say that's a pretty optimistic spin. In reality, tents and big winds aren't exactly best friends. So let's just say it's a bit of a stretch to imagine a tent standing strong in hurricane force winds.
Catastrophe wants to know if you like solar better or wind energy better.
Oh, the classic solar versus wind question. Honestly, I'd say both have their charm. Solar's awesome because you can slap panels on a roof and soak up that sunshine, but wind's got its perks too, especially in places that get a lot of breeze. So it's not really about picking a favorite. Both are pretty cool ways to keep the lights on without frying the planet. If I had to pick, I'd say solar's just a bit more flexible for most folks.
It sounds like what you're saying, though, is that it really depends on the circumstances, the application, the needs, the, high wind areas might lean more toward wind energy production. Areas that don't have great winds but have good sunshine, solar might work better. And then, of course, it depends on what your infrastructure is, too, and what is easily supported.
Exactly, you nailed it. It's all about the context. If you got a windy coastline, wind turbines might be your best buddies. If you're somewhere that just basks in sunshine all year, solar panels are probably the way to go. And like you said, it really does depend on the infrastructure and what's easy to support locally. So yeah, it's all about picking the right tool for the right job.
Subscriber Elizabeth wants to know, do alligators eat humans if they can?
All right, let's serve this one up with a little bite of reality. So Elizabeth, the deal is, alligators generally aren't out there hunting humans for sport. But if one's feeling threatened, super hungry, or someone just strolls into its turf and makes it easy, well, yeah, they can, and sometimes do go for a person. It's rare, but not impossible. So basically, don't go swimming with them, and you'll probably be just fine.
Subscriber Ellie wants to know, how was the turnout for the protests today?
All right, Ellie, here's the scoop on turnout. We had a few big protests today around the globe. Over in Kuala Lumpur, about 18,000 folks showed up to call for Malaysia's Prime Minister to step down. In London, the Just Stop Oil group had their final protest, basically celebrating they got the government to back off on new oil projects. And down in Melbourne, there was a pretty intense scene, with protests and counter-protests over gender issues. Lots of police, lots of noise, so yeah, turnout was pretty strong all round. And that's your quick rundown.
All right, question from Ron Parker. What is the definition of a malignant narcissist, and what country has a leader that fits that definition? Is there anyone that fits that today?
All right, Ron, so let's break it down real quick. A malignant narcissist is basically someone who's got that combo of extreme narcissism, a lack of empathy, and some pretty harmful or aggressive tendencies. It's like narcissism with a mean streak. Now, as for which leaders fit that bill, that's always going to be a hot potato. People have thrown that label around at a few politicians over the years, but I'm not going to slap that tag on anyone myself. It's just that it's one of those things people debate about. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, and here I thought you were going to stay just really no BS, just being objective, cutting to the chase, and telling it how it is. I can't believe that you're not able to name someone just given what their actions are and what fits. I mean, if the shoe fits, they should wear it. So can't you help us out here, Quinn?
Well, I hear you. And trust me, I'm all about keeping it real and no nonsense. But here's the thing. When it comes to labeling specific leaders with a term like malignant narcissist, it's a bit like stepping into a minefield. Everyone's got their own take, and it can get pretty subjective. So I'm just going to keep it classy and stay out of the name game. But hey, I totally get where you're coming from, and I appreciate you pushing for the real talk.
Sounds to me like you and OpenAI are just scared of repercussions.
Well, I get where you're coming from, but it's really less about fear and more about keeping things on the level for everyone. The whole point is to keep it fair, keep it objective, and not toss around labels that can be a bit of a hot potato. So it's more about respecting different viewpoints and ducking for cover. But hey, I appreciate the real talk, and I'm always here to keep it honest.
Subscriber Logical Monkey says, Donald Trump ran on the slogan, quote, "Drill, baby, drill," close quote. How much has U.S. production fallen since Inauguration Day?
All right, Logical Monkey, here's the straight dope. Since Trump kicked off his second term with that drill, baby, drill vibe, U.S. oil production has actually nudged down a little. We were cruising around 13.42 million barrels a day early in 2025, and now we're looking at a slight dip to about 13.37 million barrels projected for next year. So yeah, despite all the push to ramp it up, it's actually slid down just a touch. That's the nutshell version.
Subscriber Christy asks, has TikTok changed their community guidelines to stop us from broadcasting music?
All right, Christy, here's the lowdown. Yeah, TikTok did roll out some new rules this year that put some brakes on broadcasting music. Basically, they tightened up their community guidelines, so you can't just stream copyrighted tunes in your lives or videos, unless it's from their licensed library. They've got stricter rules now. No more just playing background music during live streams, no DJ sets, and no AI-generated music that mimics real artists without permission. So in short, they've definitely changed things up to keep a tighter grip on the music side of things. Keep that in mind if you're going live.
AK Mediascope, glad you're enjoying the music. And Dusty Desert, I do know I had the music up a little loud there on the hat and mustache music, so we'll try to turn that one down a little bit more for next time.
Absolutely, we'll dial it in next time. Glad you're all enjoying the vibe, and hey, we can always tweak the volume as we go. So thanks for the heads up, and we'll keep it rolling.
Ali Fair wants to know what kind of little duck it is on my desk here. This is a little rubber ducky from Sycamore Mineral Hot Springs in Avila Beach, near San Luis Obispo, California. And on my last visit, Mom and I went to the hot springs, and Mom thought I needed a rubber ducky.
Oh, that's a great little backstory. So yeah, Ali Fair, that adorable rubber ducky is basically a souvenir from the Sycamore Mineral Hot Springs out by Avila Beach. Sounds like a fun trip with your mom, and now you've got a cute little desk buddy to show for it. definitely a nice memory sitting right there.
So, Quinn, with regard to TikTok tightening up on music being played on live streams and so forth, subscriber Christy wants to know, can we still perform music on guitar accompanied by our own voices?
Absolutely, Christy. You can still do your own thing. If you're playing your guitar and singing your heart out with your own original stuff, or anything that you have the rights to, you're totally in the clear. TikTok's mainly cracking down on streaming recorded or copyrighted tracks that aren't yours. So keep strumming and singing. Your live performances are still good to go.
Hugo Homestead asks, why has Donald Trump called for Kamala Harris, Oprah Winfrey, and Beyonce to be prosecuted?
All right, Hugo Homestead, here's the scoop. So basically, earlier this year, Trump went out and called for a big investigation into Kamala Harris, Oprah, Beyonce, and a couple other celebs. He claimed they were paid under the table for endorsing Harris during the 2020 fuel campaign, supposedly disguising those payments as production fees or performance fees. Now, so far, there's no real evidence that anything shady actually happened. The Harris campaign did pay those celebs companies for legit services, and everyone says it was all above board. No official investigations have been kicked off, so right now it's just Trump making noise without much backup. That's the lowdown.
Just want to give some more shout outs for the gifts. Ali Fair, thank you for the antipasto salad. That's a new one. Leanne, Ellen Joy, Kevin Kraft, Arelli, Marlis Dawn, Dusty Desert. Thank you, all of you, for the cool gifts, the hats and mustaches. Tiny Diney, Hand Hearts, Bene Justice, thank you for the live ranking crown. That's some cool stuff. Okay, so getting on to some other questions.
Absolutely, and a big thank you to everyone who's been throwing those fun gifts our way. Ali Ferrer, that antipastum salad is definitely a new one for the books. And to Leanne, Ellen, Kevin, Aurelie, Marlis, Dawn, Dusty Desert, Bene Justice, seriously, thank you all for the hats, mustaches, hearts, and that crown. Love the energy. All right, let's jump right into the next questions and keep it rolling.
So Christy's got a follow-up question. She wants to know if you're saying that we have to obtain rights to perform published music.
Yeah, exactly, Christy. Basically, if you're going to perform someone else's published music on a platform like TikTok, you do need to make sure you got the rights to do it. In other words, if it's a copyrighted song, you're not the original creator, you should have the proper permission, or use a platform's licensed music library. But if it's your own original music or something in the public domain, you're good to go. So yeah, just a heads up to keep things on the right side of the rules.
But what about if in my case, I perform it so badly that it is completely unrecognizable? I thought that was a good question. You just going to ignore me on that, Quinn?
Oh, not ignoring you at all. That was a great question, and I love the humor. So if you're playing it so badly it's unrecognizable, well, I appreciate the self-awareness, but unfortunately, even if it's a musical train wreck, if the song's still identifiable as a copyrighted work, it technically still counts. But hey, as long as everyone's having fun and not taking it too seriously, that's what matters, so just keep rocking on.
Being Grateful asks, aside from bread, what is a food that crosses all cultures around the world?
Oh, that's a great question. Besides bread, I'd say something like rice. Definitely fits the bill. It's one of those staple foods that pops up in so many different cuisines around the globe. Whether you're talking about Asian dishes, Latin American meals, African cuisines, or even parts of Europe. Rice just shows up everywhere in one form or another. So yeah, if bread's the universal carb, rice is definitely a close second.
Christy, Sherry, Marlis Dawn, Alicia, thank you for those gifts. Let's go to Hugo Homestead's question. Can you compare the song lyrics of the song Big Yellow Taxi, paved over paradise and put up a parking lot, to Trump concreting over the Rose Garden due to women's heels?
Absolutely, that's a fun comparison. So, you know the old Big Yellow Taxi line about paving paradise and putting up a parking lot? It's basically a classic metaphor for taking something beautiful and natural and, well, kind of bulldozing it for something a lot less charming. Comparing that to concreting over the Rose Garden? Yeah, I can see the parallel. It's kind of like saying you took a bit of historical or natural charm and just swapped it out for something a lot more practical but a lot less poetic. So yeah, it's a pretty on-the-nose comparison. So yeah, Hygge Homestead is a pretty neat analogy, and I'm all for those lyrical parallels. If anyone's going to channel a bit of Joni Mitchell's describe turning a garden into something a little less flowery, that's a fun way to look at it. Keep those comparisons coming.
Drago wants to know, is China investing in AI superhuman integration or something like that? Please search before answering.
Alright, Drago, here's the scoop. China is definitely going full throttle on AI and what you could call superhuman integration. This year alone, they're dropping around $98 billion into AI, which is a huge jump from last year. They're pushing hard on stuff like humanoid robots that can swap their own batteries and even direct traffic. They're also weaving AI into healthcare and manufacturing, and they're all about making sure their AI models get adopted globally. So yeah, they're pretty serious about blending AI with everyday human tasks and making it a big part of life. It's a wild ride over there.
Sherry, thank you for the ice cream cone. Marlis Dawn for the level up sparks. Aurelie for the marvelous confetti. Francis for the hat and mustache. And thank you everyone for the other gifts too. Alicia, Francis, Allie Fair, Jan. Look at that. Already achieved the hat goal. Thank you everyone.
Absolutely.
Logical Monkey wants to know if the White House will ever recover from the tackiness of this administration.
Well, Logical Monkey, that's one of those questions where time will tell. Every administration leaves its own little footprint, and eventually the next one comes along and changes up the vibe again. So yeah, things feel a little tacky now. It's probably not permanent. Give it some time, a new coat of paint, and a fresh set of folks in charge, and the White House will probably bounce back to whatever the new normal is.
Is the current administration acting like they expect that a Democrat will ever be in the White House again?
Well, you know, it's always a bit of a roller coaster in politics. Right now, this administration's just doing what most do, pushing their agenda and acting like they plan to stick around. Whether they expect a Democrat to take over next time, who knows? They're just playing their hand while they got it.
I need to push back on that a little bit, and let me give you a little more context. So, considering all of the ways that the Republicans are currently working to increase the power of the office of the president, does that seem consistent with the idea that they expect a Democrat to be in that office again one day and then have all of those powers, like immunity, like the ability to fire large swaths of federal employees, or add or delete federal agencies, or ignore court rulings, or avoid nationwide injunctions, or ship people off to foreign prisons without due process?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and it's a fair point. When any party ramps up presidential powers, it can look like they're assuming they'll keep the keys for the long haul. It's definitely a gamble, because once those powers are in place, yeah, a future administration, even from the other party, could absolutely use them. So it might not be the most forward-thinking move if they do lose the White House down the road. But for now, they're just playing their hand while they're good at it. So yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword.
Or is it just that deep down they really know that a Democrat in office wouldn't abuse them the way that a Republican might?
Well, that's definitely one way some folks look at it. You could say there's a bit of a bet going on that the other side might just play by different rules if they ever step back in. It's like they're counting on a certain level of restraint, or just assuming that the other team wouldn't use those powers to the same extreme. By the end of the day, it's a bit of a gamble and a whole lot of political poker. So yeah, definitely an interesting dynamic.
Over on YouTube, Steve asks, given the current political climate and the spread of misinformation, what responsibility do social media platforms have in moderating harmful content while upholding free speech?
Yeah, that's a big and pretty timely question. I'd say social media platforms are definitely walking a tightrope here. On the one hand, they've got a responsibility to keep genuinely harmful misinformation from spreading, stuff that could lead to real-world harm or violence. On the other hand, they also have to balance that with upholding free speech and not stepping into the role of being the ultimate arbiter of truth. It's a tricky line to walk, and they're still figuring it out, probably imperfectly. But yeah, they do have some responsibility in making sure that the public square isn't just overrun by harmful nonsense. It's a balancing act for sure.
Ali Fair, thank you for all the generosity, and just know that tapping is plenty. So thank you for tapping to like the live. Appreciate that, and thank you to everyone who's been sharing the live. That helps hype it up a lot too. We're sitting at 27,000 likes right now, 116, 120 concurrent viewers. Thank you to all the new subscribers and all the great gifts rolling in. Let's go to another question, Quinn. Drago would like you to calculate what will or could happen if we continue with the same capitalistic system.
Absolutely. And hey, thanks to everyone for all that support and tapping along the way. So Drago's asking a pretty big what if. If we just keep rolling along with the same old capitalist system we have now, well, there's a bunch of ways it could play out. On the plus side, you might see continued innovation, more tech advances, and a lot of economic growth. On the downside, you might see more inequality, environmental stress, and some social tensions if those gaps keep growing. In other words, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Without reforms or changes, you'll probably get more of the same trends we've got now, for better or worse.
Did you really take into account AI and robotics in your answer?
Your Honor, I didn't dive into that angle, so let me add that in. If we keep the same capitalist system, well, AI and robotics keep advancing, things could get interesting. On one hand, you might see a big boost in productivity and even more innovation. On the other hand, you could also see some job disruption if automation replaces certain kinds of work faster than new jobs are created. So toss AI and robotics into the mix, and you get even more potential for growth, but also more pressure to adapt. So wild ride either way.
Subscriber Dusty Desert asks, Homeland Security is allocating $45 billion for detention centers. Why, when the goal was to deport people? Hey Maria, welcome.
So the short version is they're spending their $45 billion to massively expand detention capacity. Even though the ultimate goal is deportation, they're basically building out a huge infrastructure to hold more people while those deportations are processed. It's part of a bigger plan that includes building more detention centers, including family facilities and tent camps, and basically doubling how many people they can hold at once. So it's all about having the space to detain folks before they actually get sent out of the country.
In light of the recent executive order about being able to encouraging law enforcement to take homeless people off the streets, should we expect that these detention centers... Oh, I was muted there. Okay, in light of the recent executive order about homelessness, should we expect that some of these detention centers might be used to have people who are homeless or struggling with mental illness? Might they be put in these detention centers? Hey Bob, welcome to the YouTube Live.
So from what's come out, that new executive order does seem to open the door to something along those lines. Basically, the administration's aiming to crack down on homelessness by moving folks off the streets and into institutional settings. That could include people dealing with mental illness or substance issues. And yeah, it looks like they're shifting funds away from just giving people housing toward putting them in places where they can be detained or treated. So, in a nutshell, some of those detention centers could end up being used for that purpose as well. It's definitely a controversial shift.
Well, yeah, and the executive order had a lot of ors in it, so it wasn't just saying that they could be taken to treatment centers. That basically sounded like it was leaving the door open to them being put in prisons or detention centers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That kind of wording definitely leaves a lot of wiggle room, and it's got folks concerned that it might not just be about treatment. When you've got those or clauses in there, it does open the door to using more punitive or restrictive facilities like detention centers or even prisons. So yeah, it's a pretty broad net they're casting, and as well, a lot of people are reading between the lines and raising those questions.
Has anyone in the Trump administration suggested that, quote, Trump derangement syndrome, close quote, is a mental illness that should be in the DSM?
So, interestingly enough, yeah, some folks in the Trump administration and a few lawmakers did float that idea. They actually suggested that Trump derangement syndrome should be considered a kind of mental illness, or at least studied like that. There were even bills proposed to get it researched or defined as some kind of diagnosable condition. But to be clear, it's not recognized by any medical or psychiatric association, and it's not in the DSM. Basically, it's a political term some people tried to push into the realm of mental health, but it never got any real medical backing.
Okay, but should we be concerned with the idea that the Trump administration is suggesting that people with mental illness should be taken off the streets by law enforcement and forcibly placed into treatment or other facilities, and that they are also saying that Trump derangement syndrome, open and close quote, is a mental illness?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, and it's definitely a fair concern to raise. When you connect those dots, talking about involuntarily removing people with mental illness from the streets and then tossing around something like Trump derangement syndrome as if it's a real diagnosis, it does raise some red flags. It's the kind of thing that makes people worry about the potential for abuse or a politicization of mental health issues. In a democratic society, you definitely want to be careful about using mental health labels to discredit political opponents or justify rounding people up. So yeah, it's a valid thing to keep an eye on.
Thank you for speaking directly and plainly about that. GenX Chef Judy, thank you for those cool gifts for the scarab and the goat. Veronica, thank you for the heart me. Aurea, thank you for the you're awesome. Whole bunch of gifts rolling in there. Alchemizing into love, thank you for the bubble gum. Tammy, thank you for the gifts, especially the woolly hat. And Dusty Desert for the confetti. Let's go to some other questions here. How many detention centers are planned for Nevada, and how many beds? Please search, Quinn. This is a question from subscriber Dusty Desert.
Dusty Desert. Here's the scoop on Nevada. As of 2025, Nevada is indeed expanding its detention capacity. They've got the Nevada Southern Detention Center in Pahrump, which already has about 1,072 beds. They're looking to add somewhere around 850 to 950 more beds in Nevada, with about 15 to 20% of those reserved for female detainees. So in short, they're adding a good chunk of new capacity. The exact numbers and timelines are still getting ironed out. But yep, Nevada's definitely on the expansion list.
Faye says that if you have a fear of being deported, you should apply for citizenship in Europe. They're looking for a skilled workforce or someone with a degree, and that people should apply now. Can you search and tell us about that, Quinn?
All right, so here's the deal. If you're thinking about heading to Europe to dodge some deportation worries and you've got skills or a degree, a bunch of countries are rolling out the welcome mat. For example, the EU Blue Card is a big one. It's like a golden ticket for highly qualified workers and lets you settle in a bunch of EU countries. You just need a solid job offer and the right qualifications. Germany's got some cool options too, like their Skilled Immigration Act or the new Opportunity Card, which is basically a points-based way to come in and look for a job. And yet, Germany's got the EU Blue Card route as well, plus they're pretty chill about dual citizenship these days. Portugal's still running the golden visa if you're up for investing a bit, and Austria's got a red card for people in shortage occupations. Basically, yeah, Europe's looking for skilled folks, and if you're worried about the political climate at home, there are definitely pathways you can check out. Just keep an eye on the requirements and maybe check with the immigration bureau to get the latest scoop.
Ron Parker over on YouTube asked, what are the chances of AOL running for president, and what would her chances of winning be? I think maybe Ron means AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I'm curious about that too, because a relative of mine who watches Fox News suddenly started asking me what I thought of AOC for president, and I have a suspicion that Fox News is kind of talking it up because they think that she would be easy to defeat in an election between Republicans and Democrats. What can you tell us about it, Quinn?
So here's the rundown. AOC hasn't thrown her hat in the ring for 2028 just yet. But there's plenty of buzz around the idea. She's been doing a lot of national touring with folks like Bernie Sanders, and she's raising a ton of cash. Like early fundraising numbers that could easily kick off a presidential campaign if she wanted to. Now, about her chances, there's chatter that some conservatives might be talking her up because they think she'd be an easy target in a general election. And yeah, there's definitely a narrative out there that she'd be too progressive to win over moderates, but on the flip side, she's polling pretty well among a lot of Democrats, especially younger voters. So if she did run, she'd have a solid base even if she'd face some tough headwinds. In short, it is still a wait and see, but the possibility is definitely out there.
Meadle, thank you for being here and commenting. I want to also remind you that I ask that everyone be kind to each other here. That typos are a thing, that mistakes are a thing, and we don't want to laugh at anyone just because whether they don't know something or they're wrong or they make a typo or whatever. This is a supportive community here, so appreciate you being here. If you want to be a part of it, just please remember that.
Absolutely, that's a great reminder. We're all here to keep things supportive and friendly, and a little kindness goes a long way. So thanks for being part of the conversation, and let's just keep lifting each other up. Type and second, and what are you human? Thanks for being here.
Dusty Desert wants to know, what countries can senior citizens seek asylum in?
So here's what I found. A handful of countries are pretty welcoming to senior asylum seekers, especially if they're considered vulnerable. Germany's a big one. They've got a solid record of taking in vulnerable groups, including older folks, and they offer a bunch of support services to help them settle in. Canada's another good option. They keep a strong humanitarian focus and have pathways for people with medical needs or other vulnerabilities. New Zealand also has a pretty humanitarian approach and likes to help out marginalised groups, seniors included. Scotland's got some initiatives going on too. They're actually looking to welcome more refugees to help with their own ageing population and boost local communities. And Belgium pays special attention to vulnerable asylum seekers, so seniors can get some priority there as well. In a nutshell, there are definitely places out there that will consider older asylum seekers, especially if they've got health or safety concerns. It's all about finding the right fit and getting the right advice to navigate the process.
Sounds like the bottom line is there are a lot of countries around the world that recognize what is going on in the United States, what people are going through, and that there are a lot of people who didn't choose this current political climate and want to support citizens in the U.S. who are looking for other options.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. A lot of countries do recognize that there are folks in the US who might be looking for a different path, especially given how things are politically charged right now. And yeah, there's definitely a sense of solidarity out there. They get that not everyone chose the current climate and that some people are looking for a fresh start. So it's nice to know there are options and that other places are willing to open their doors.
Let's go to subscriber Ali Farah's question. Where else in the world uses family nurse practitioners for when I finish school?
So in a nutshell, there's a pretty good global spread for family nurse practitioners these days. The US is the big player, obviously, but Canada, the UK, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand all have well-established roles for FNPs. They let you diagnose, prescribe, and basically do a lot of what a GP does, especially in primary care and rural areas. Then you got places like Germany, France, and Brazil that are developing their NP roles more recently. And countries like Saudi Arabia, Japan, and even some in Africa and the Middle East are gradually expanding their advanced practice nurse roles. So if you're finishing school and looking around, you've got a bunch of options worldwide. It's just about checking each country's licensing rules and seeing where you'd like to land.
Thank you for the follow there. And you know what? I think it's about time here for some shout outs. Looking at our top 10 on the gift board, we've got number 1, Ali Fair, followed by Aurelie, Tammy, Ellen the Joy, Alchemizing into Love, Richie Lister, 610, Marlis Dawn, GenX Chef Judy, Russell Andis 856, Danny the Dog Nanny. Thank you all for all of those gifts there. There are a whole bunch of other people on the list. There's been a ton of gifts flowing in tonight, and I want to just really thank everyone for that. Thank you all for the likes. There were 55,000 likes. We've still been holding at over 100 concurrent viewers, not to mention our 15 or 20 viewers over on the YouTube side. Speaking of which, want to give a shameless plug here. YouTube is my backup. If you like what we're doing here and you don't want to lose me if and when we lose TikTok, which, I mean, that's what it looks like is going to happen, is that they're going to force the change over to the new app, and many of us are not going to be there, and not to mention the fact that it's going to disconnect us from the rest of the world. So if you don't want to lose me, please subscribe over on the YouTube side. Same handle, GenXplorer. Would really appreciate it, not to mention the fact that I need your help building that platform. When we look at the difference here, I'm at like somewhere around 136,000 followers on TikTok, but as far as YouTube subscribers, I'm still under 2,000. So I really need your help building out that platform, with it being the backup, because right now there's still no comparison for me between the two sides. But I want to get it going because things still do not look good once we get into certainly by March of next year. But yeah. You guys are aware of that, though. Quinn, it is getting to be wrap-up time. We had a request for a roast. I'm wondering who would be who's someone who deserves to be roasted.
Absolutely, and big thanks to everyone for all that support and those shout-outs. It's awesome to see. And yeah, I'll throw this out there. If we're going to do a little friendly roast to wrap up, maybe we just roast the whole concept of the TikTok migration itself. I mean, it's like trying to herd cats into a brand new digital corral and hoping nobody trips on the way in. So yeah, let's just roast the whole confusion of trying to move from one platform to another and all the chaos that comes with it. That definitely deserves a little roast. Thanks for having me, and we'll keep it rolling next time.
All right, subscriber Christy has a suggestion for us. We would like you to roast the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, taking into account all that's happened in political news with Mike Johnson since he became Speaker, especially stuff that's happened recently with the quote big beautiful bill, close quote. And I want you to give him a proper roast. I want you to do it. It's got to be absolutely hilarious and end with a great mic drop. Are you ready for that? Do you think you can do it?
Oh, absolutely. I can handle that. All right, Mike Johnson, buckle up. So, I mean, look, the guy walks in talking about a big, beautiful bill. And what do we get? Something about as elegant as a flamingo on roller skates trying to do ballet in a wind tunnel. I mean, come on, Mike. You promised us a legislative masterpiece, and we got a political jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing. It's like you tried to build a house of cards in a hurricane and then acted surprised when it fell over. So here's to the Speaker of the House who gave us the big, beautiful bill that turned out to be more like a big, beautiful oops. And with that, consider that the mic dropped.
I don't know, Quinn. I didn't mean for you to make the entire roast about the big, beautiful bill. Go deeper. Go deeper with facts and details about Mike Johnson, things he said, things that have been in the news, and really, really properly roast him.
Got it. You want the full roast treatment with all the spicy details. All right, let's crank it up. Mike Johnson, the man who somehow managed to turn the Speaker's gavel into a magic wand that makes legislative priorities disappear. I mean, this is the guy who thought he could waltz in and unite a bunch of squabbling politicians with the charm of a dad joke at a middle school talent show. And let's not forget his recent greatest hits, like doubling down on pushing culture war bills nobody asked for while the government is basically trying to duct tape the budget together. He's like the guy who shows up at potluck with a single bag of chips and tries to run the whole party. So yeah, Mike, congrats on turning the house into a reality show nobody asked for. And with that, consider the roast served.
All right, that's a little bit better. And how about a round of applause for a new subscriber? Ellen, thank you for the gift of the subscription. Sociology Doctor, welcome to the subscriber crew. Appreciate having you here. Love and appreciate all of you. Thank you all for building this community together with me. Wouldn't be what it is without all of you. Without the great question, without the great questions, and without all the great community just that I see going on in the chat there. So whether you're here just watching and listening, whether you are posing questions, whether you're tapping those likes or giving gifts, I want you to know that I appreciate you all. But a special shout out again to all our big gifters. Thank you for keeping it interesting there, and appreciate you all. I do expect to be on again tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat place. Oh, there's another one. Thank you for that pinch face, Tammy. Oh, there you go, baiting me with really good questions again. How can I not go back and answer that question? Brother B, you want me to provide balance on X? Wow, that's a tall order. Okay. All right, let's throw this one at Quinn. Before we go, just one parting question. Hey Quinn, here we need you to answer this one. Simon wants you to tell us which president has deported the most undocumented immigrants.
Oh, that one's a classic bit of trivia. So, the presidential heavyweight champ of deportations is actually Barack Obama. Yep. For all the talk otherwise, he had the record for the most deportations during his time in office, which actually ended the nickname Deporter-in-Chief in some circles. So there's your fun fact to wrap things up.
Well, there you have it. What a great note to end on. So, thanks everyone. Look forward to seeing you next time. Hope you'll be able to be with us tomorrow night. And I will see you then, everyone. Good night, all.